Hi, I'm Amit Shah, and welcome to Creative Journey. I have been thinking of sharing my experience and my story for a while, and I hope that by sharing my story, it will also help you start creating something which you like and have fun. So, first of all, I had no experience or training in the visual art or painting till I met Shilpa, my wife. And up till now, um, I had no formal training, neither I had any family background that was conducive enough to learn any painting or any forms of other arts. And therefore, I think that my story is such that if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. That's the one point I want to make. The second thing which I want to also emphasize that I think everybody is born as an artist. Everybody is born with creativity. But what happens throughout our childhood and early adulthood, that because our focus is so much on the different other studies and different aspect of the life, and we get so much conditioned that our artist and creativity within ourselves gets locked in. I think it's all about unconditioning ourselves, unlocking the creativity from within, unleashing the artist within us. And I want to thank Shilpa, my wife, to help me in unlocking, unconditioning myself. So, with that, I want to start a simple kind of experience of painting something which I like, and it's in front of me. And you can do the same thing, that if you have some nice picture you have taken during vacationing or during a small trip here and there, or maybe surrounding where you are, and you want to kind of start with that, because that will be really a fun, and it will be a lifelong remembrance also, because you already had a good experience in the past, and you would also have another same experience while painting it, and that would be the best way to start painting, even if you have no experience um, in the past whatsoever. What you need is just 1 hour or so of your time, a simple material, um, simple few colors, and one or two brushes. That's it. And I'll share my experience how I do it, and maybe you will be able to develop your own style. But the most important thing is the journey. Remember, creativity is a journey. You can start from any point in time, any time of your life, um, and it should be fun. More fun, however, I must say that if you do with your friends or family member, it is even more fun. It always should be fun. If whenever you feel like there is a burden and you're tired and frustrated, then just stop it, and then you can sort of re-enter with a fresh mind and energy. So again, with that introduction, let's start with our first creative journey experience. So this is that 12 by 12 canvas which is already framed. So as soon as we are quickly done, we can actually hang on the wall. um, and the first thing what I try to do is to prime the canvas. Now everybody starts in a different way, and different artists have a different way of starting on the canvas. I want to make it quite simple, and the way I do is that I take a sort of a slightly blue color, because the blue color is the common sky color, and I use the lightest color and thinnest blue color. As you can see, actually, that what I have done is I just have poured some water on the palette, and I'm going to start with that. And what I'm going to do is to divide the or simplify the landscape into three different areas. Most of the time, the first thing you want to do is to have a sky and the horizon line, what I call. So one can, what I see in front of me, as you can see in the picture, that this is a kind of a horizon line. Um, there are some trees kind of here. There's a house sitting in the middle, and then there are some trees here also. Now one can also use a light green color for the tree line, and that's easy, that you can sort of mix up some green color, um, and I'm just mixing it from the palette, so that it kind of gives me a sort of a green color. um, that this is kind of, I think, is going to be the future tree line. You don't have to be very particular, you don't have to be any hesitant to use the color freely, because remember, this is very light. This just gives us a guideline that will help us how to place the trees and sky. And then I think in the middle, I think there's a house, I can see a small house is there. So I'm just giving myself a kind of some kind of a guideline, that where the sky is going to be, and the tree is going to be. Now what I see is, because this is all water and pond, there is going to be a reflection of the trees. So I can sort of give that also. And see, it's a dripping, but I'm not worried about that. I'm just trying to give myself some kind of again a guideline, that what and where things are going to be. um, so it will give me some some framework, uh, some framework. Again, as you can see, I'm so haphazard. Now here is the sky. So for the sky, what I like to do is to first give a titanium white, which I have on the palette. Again, remember, I'm using a very thin and very light very light color, and you can just sort of do this. This is the white color. I'm just going over all over the place. And since the sky is also going to be reflected here, I want to use the white color there also. That will help me filling up the whole canvas. So what now I'm doing is to, fill up the sky, which is generally the blue color. Now there are a lot of variations of blue colors, and to get the three-dimensional effect, or to understand the perspective, one can go too much in detail, but there are a few principles which I have learned are very simple to put that into the practice, and we will be able to create something more logical from the perspective point of view. And when I say perspective, from the distant and near, how do you create and paint something that looks near to us, and then or it looks distant to us. And since the sky itself is quite distant, number one, we should not use too much pure or sharp impressions. Also, on the top of the canvas, which is the sky on the top, usually is more darker because it is more near than the sky near the horizon. And therefore, when you draw a sky near the horizon, add some more gray into it, which looks more distant, and the sky which is above us is a little bit with a more pure color or darker color. So the sky on the top of the canvas, which is near us, I will use a little bit darker color, and I'll take a little bit either ultramarine or pure blue color, which um, so you can see this is a blue, darker blue color. Also, you want to, if you are aware, if you are putting some clouds, then you can try to avoid putting too much blue color there, because those are your future clouds. But that's part of the composition. But otherwise, you can use this simple logic that on the top of the canvas, you want to use a darker blue color, and as you come down in the distant horizon, you want to use lighter blue, or you can put some kind of gray color. So again, this dark blue and on the up, and then I'm going to go towards the lighter blue, which is this. You see, that's the difference. And if you feel like it's still darker, you can use the white color. So you can sort of figure it out to make it slightly more more pale. You can always add white color. So that way the blue color in the middle would be light blue, and then, as I mentioned, in the distant, you can add gray. Now, gray color, when you put gray, that will put that object in the. So I kind of added a kind of a gray color into this, and then I'm doing this. So again, this is a gray blue in the distance. Ah, see something stuck up. Don't worry about that. You can always correct with the finger, this, that. Remember, this is still a kind of a rough, kind of a rough placement. So you see there is a darker blue, lighter blue, and then grayish blue. And then you can always mix it up like that so that it's kind of gradual. It's a gradual transition into the dark blue. You see, if you want to put more darker, that's okay. Feel free. So you know that, and then you can mix up this. Now you can see the darker blue, then the middle, and then the lighter grayish blue. This is how you create a feeling of distance. And usually, that's the one principle of the how to paint sky. Most of the time, you will not go wrong if you remember this part. Also, remember another part: how to, from the perspective point of view, how to create an impression that something is so distant and something is so near. So the distant, or things which are far away from us, are hazy, slightly grayish, and blurred. They don't have the sharp impression. So if you want to create an impression that this tree line is so distant, you want to keep it very hazy and blurred. If you want to create something that particular tree is so near, within 10, 15, 20 feet distance, then you will have to put the sharpness to it, and you will need to put more details, where you may need to even draw the shape of the leaf even. So remember this far and distance, and you can create this far and distance impression, and by doing that you can create the three-dimensional effect. So as you can see now, the sky, and there is a house, you have a tree lines, and then there is a reflection there. Now remember, the sky also is reflected in the water. So I'm going to do the same thing, create the distant sky and create this scene here. Then always, whenever you are taking the darker color, try to wash it, and also keep the keep the kitchen towel with you. And if there is a need, you can always wash it off quickly, so that the lighter color basically can be easily drawn. So what I'm doing is, again, this medium blue I'm also doing here. So that's a medium blue, and then the lighter grayish blue also, which was here, you can put it here. So this is how You kind of created a sort of a, then you mix it so that everything looks merging into each other. There are no separate compartments in the nature. Nature has a very unique way of blending itself. Now, when you read the water, always think about horizontal kind of strokes so that it looks like a water. Again, no hesitancy, no hesitancy. Still, everything is kind of rough and smooth. You see, I'm just following the simple principles here. If you want to start putting some clouds, say for example, you take a sort of white color on the brush and kind of a, always try to use the semicircle strokes like this. Again, remember that the cloud which are on the top of the canvas are larger. As you go in the distance, the clouds are smaller. That will create the impression about farness and the nearness, a three-dimensional impact, a sort of a perspective. So when I'm putting clouds here, I'm just putting it broad, bigger, and as you go down, clouds are very small, very small. The clouds are very small, and bigger, bigger, yeah, and bigger. Semicircular strokes. That'll help you in creating a very like a smooth, fluffy kind of feeling. Again, as you go down, you're going to create a smaller semicircle and smaller clouds. Smaller clouds. Smaller clouds. Have a fun with this. I mean, there is see the mixing of the canvas and um, canvas and then the blue color into clouds. That's just the natural because there is going to be a shadow there's going to be a shadow of the sky colors, and um, it will take those colors also a part of their formations. So as you can see, things are coming back. There is a sky. I have put some clouds into it. Now we can always put some highlights later on, but at least you get some impression about the sky, three different or four different colors of the sky. You know, the dark blue, the medium blue, and then the grayish or lighter blue. Um, Now you can sort of come down to the trees, which are also in the distance, and then you can sort of put those things. Again, distance is going to be blurred, not it will not be having the definite lines of branches or leaves. If you start putting the leaves in the distant tree, it will lose the perspective. So the distant things are most of the time just patches of colors. You can play with the color, you can play with the lighter color, or you can play with the different types of greens. That gives a nice impression about the three-dimensional thing within the tree line. And we will do it here. Right now I'm just doing a general this tree tree line, which is here. And it's just fun, basically. Again, remember, journey and having fun is more important with playing with these colors. It really does not matter what's the outcome. It's just you want to have fun. And most of the time what I have seen, like if you are doing this with your family, and it's sort of a everybody has their own 12 by 12 canvas, and everybody's playing with the same kind of a same subject matter, and then you're using different styles, and they can interpret the landscape in their own way. There are no guidelines. It doesn't have to be perfectly same color which you see. You can use different colors. You can use your imagination, and um, as you can see, there are different hues of green, like lighter green, darker green, and then we will also add a more lighter later on. But um, as you can see, I can go on adding now. Remember the reflection. So whatever you are putting here somehow will need to be reflected also. So I'm just trying to kind of use the now there are books out there are videos out there on YouTube how to you know draw and paint trees, um, how to paint the reflections, water reflections. um, but until and unless you develop your own style and understanding. That's why there is no alternative but to try out. We can watch the videos on the YouTube and different channels and Netflix and Prime. Actually, Prime has a lot of good art related shows also. But ultimately, if you want to enjoy yourself and with your friends and family and have fun, you'll have to pick up and start painting. There is no other alternative but to do yourself. So that's just something. Now I do want to add some trunk and branches of the tree also as a part of this, and that's why I'm going to take some a little bit lighter brown color. Now you have seen it. I have not changed the brush. So many times you go to Michael's and these art stores, and there are so many different types of brushes and flat and sharp and bigger and smaller. And I think if you just use the standard this kind of brush and play with it, you will be able to actually paint. I would say 99% of the things. So again, I'm just putting some kind of a really some kind of a, and then remember it's going to be also going to be reflected. Remember, reflected. So whatever you are putting here is going to be reflected. Now I would kind of use different colors also just to have fun rather than using the same color of these, and you can add like a different colors here and have a the, the trees, the branches could have a different color. And again, you don't have to be too precise. Remember, these are the things which are primarily are pretty in the distant, far distant. So you can have a really, and that's the fun. I mean, you don't have to really use the same things again and again. Now, see, I'm taking another green, a lighter green, and then just trying to put a different, putting some grass kind of a, and, See the tree line, some reflection, the house is being reflected. Now I just want to clean this brush again. Remember, when you try to change the color on the brush, try to use the kitchen towel so that there is not much mixing. One of the problem and initial mistakes we do is to try to mix up too many colors. When you try to mix too many colors, ultimately it creates a grayish tone and it creates almost like a muddy feeling. So try to mixing color is good, but when you try to mix three colors, then it starts creating the grayish muddy feeling. And that's why uh, trying to have a pure play and maybe mix up some color, as just I mixed up the blue and white here. As you can see here, I'm mixing different hues of green. Now I want to give some shape to the house. And it's a pretty big house actually, so there's a multiple levels of roofing. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just trying to put the reflection. Reflections are generally are not perfect, right? So if you want to create a impression of reflection, always put the vertical lines. Even though the house could be like this, but when you do this, these are the vertical line, sort of a. So don't have to be too much detail oriented, as I mentioned. Is the roof. So again, I think you can see that in the span of 30 minutes, we were able to create something which, number one, the most important thing, have fun. And we played with different colors, some broad principles of perspectiveness, and using the principle of how to how to draw something which is near us and how to draw something which is far. Now, if I want to put something which is so near to me, I can put like a big tree here and then give more details. That will suddenly puts the the background into the distance, and it can be done. Or you can call it a day. You may be satisfied that okay, we did something with a broad principle, relatively very cheap. If you think about it, the canvas is costing you like $1.50. Some of the colors, which I have not even finished the bottles, and probably costing you the color total price could be $4 or $5, and in that small amount you had a great fun, and you were able to finish something. Um, what I would also suggest before closing, that when you're using these, always also paint the border, so that way the painting will look more finished. So what I'm doing here is just in general, I'm taking these, and because this is a blue color, I'm just putting this blue color on the sideline. If you're coming down, you can put a grayish color. Then when you come down to the tree line, you can sort of put a tree color here. So that way, when you're hanging this painting, you're kind of, it'll still look complete. See what I'm doing? So here there's a tree line, and I'm putting green color here, green color here as a reflection, and then taking the again the blue color here. This was a darker blue, but I want to get a lighter blue here. This is lighter blue. Same way here. You see what I did? And I would also paint the upper part also with the blue color. See, I made a mistake. There was a green color on the brush, and ideally I should have cleaned that with the kitchen towel. Again, not a big deal. You can always correct this. Remember, you don't have to be too perfect and feeling bad about it. You can always correct. The good part is the acrylic painting is a correctable thing. You see what I'm saying? What I did was just corrected it. So what happening here is this whole canvas, 12 by 12, is going to look finished. So if you look from all different angles, it's a finished product, and you can hang it actually. So with this, I'm going to make some finer correction, like, but at least you know, if you want to use a quick kind of impression of something, um, this is how I do it. This is how I enjoy. This is how I'm spending my morning time of Memorial Weekend. Um, so good luck, and next time we will do something else. Remember, The most important thing is to bring out the creativity. I think that everybody is born artist, everybody is born as a creative person, and what we should be focusing on is how to unlock, how to unleash ourselves so that the creative artist comes out. So I'm just, as I mentioned, I've been doing some fine touching and highlights. What um, and now you can see the clouds and some more details into house structure, some more coloring into the tree line, and then the reflection piece. And I've been just doing it again. As I mentioned, I do not want to overdo it, and at times I have messed up, and I have always struggled with how much I should be doing it, um, making sure. Again, just to give you principle, water always horizontal strokes, and then the reflection of the tree or building or anything go vertical. I think once we do that, it'll kind of create a sense of reflection, vertical and horizontal. With the cloud also, you saw like the bigger cloud on the upper side. As you go down, smaller, so it gives you the three-dimensional effect. So um, again, this is just a practice. um, Never shoot for the perfection, as I think the perfection is a subjective perception, and for everyone the perfection is different. It's subjective. So as long as we focus on the you know ultimate journey and fun and enjoyment, then we will really enjoy it and unlock the creativity within ourselves. That's the aim. Remember that. So, just to give you an idea, this is kind of my final touching, and I'm going to call it a day now. I think I've done enough. I feel like if I do overdo a little bit, then I probably would start spoiling the painting now. So, again, to summarize, the landscaping piece is can be really easy to start with. It is fun. I think if you do that as a joint program with your friends and family members, that will really be very enjoyable. Uh, just pick up a small piece of canvas, 12 by 12 is sufficient. Break the landscape in three or at the most four different major areas: the skyline and the land and the foreground, and then in between the medium ground. And then you can broadly divide and prime your canvas accordingly, and then you start developing the details. That will give you a good start, good grip, and you should be able to finish this in a reasonably good time and then still enjoy. My suggestion is that pick up a picture or a photograph or a vacation place that you would like to remember again and again, and you had a great time. And if you paint that, that would be really very fun. You can also pick up your own house, take a picture of your house, and then you can actually paint that also with some landscaping around it. So this is kind of my initial suggestion. Again, I cannot emphasize more. The creativity is the, the main aim here. The journey of creativity is the aim here. The outcome may or may not be as good as you may like it to be, but more and more you practice, more and more you will have fun, and your overall results outcome will be better. Thank you with that, Amit Shah on Creative Point. Thank you.